Hey everybody, my name is Jay. I want to thank you for checking out this promotional video on OSHA's personal protective equipment standard. I want to emphasize the fact that you are wonderfully and carefully created. And for that reason, your human body needs to be taken care of. We have families to provide for. We want to enjoy life to the fullest. We want to live long and prosper. Therefore, taking care of our bodies, maintaining a well, healthy state is vital. We don't want our places of business and our work sites and job sites to be suicide missions. We expect that the people that we work for and law states, they must provide us with a safe working environment. Likewise, we are to adhere to the safety guidelines that they are supposed to have in place for our safety. Our employers or the people we work for, we have an agreement with them. We provide a service to them to a standard, and they give us money. We take valuable years off our lives when that agreement breaks down through failure to work in a safe manner and not wearing our personal protective equipment. Let's just take a second and think about the many different hazards and exposures we have subjected ourselves to over our lives. Looking back, we know we've probably exposed ourselves to some pretty unhealthy things, but because they didn't hurt us physically or we didn't feel bad at the time, we simply disregarded the safety precautions that are in place to keep us healthy. I wonder how many years or how much time we have been robbed of our children, of our loved ones, of enjoying life because of that. Because we exposed ourselves to concrete dust, or we've exposed ourselves to some type of fume or chemicals that were in the bottom of a trench, and we just continued to work anyway. By the end of this course, you are going to have what it takes to display to somebody interviewing you for a job, to your boss, to your supervisor, that you are a life-saving and money-saving asset to the place of business or to your company. And what company isn't going to want to move someone like that up or hire somebody like that? This is OSHA's personal protective equipment standard, but in taking this course, you are going to be a well-rounded and functional safety operator. The cool thing about this course, to include this free content that I'm about to show you, is that it's yours. I want you to take it and do whatever you want with it. You have my permission. You can take it, download the PowerPoint slides, and conduct trainings in the field with it. Enroll your guys, enroll your employees at your place of business in this course. When they complete it, they'll get a nice little certificate. Or you just enroll in the course and jam-pack a conference room with people and put my ugly mug up on the screen, and there you go. People are trained and they're now compliant for the job. This course is designed with you in mind. I know your time is valuable. I know you got to get stuff done. But the contracts always state that we have to be compliant in this, and we have to be trained in safety, and we have to know what our personal protective equipment does and what it protects us against. So this course is going to be short, convenient for you, but it's still going to be effective. I thank you for taking this time with me. Enjoy the free content that's coming up next. God bless. Welcome everybody to this course. In this course we will be discussing OSHA's 29 CFR 1926.95 Standard on Personal Protective Equipment. Yes, there is a focus on this standard. However, we're going to discuss ways to enable you to be a complete and well-rounded safety operator, safety officer, or safety worker. Here's what you'll get from this course. You'll get an understanding as what the law says in regards to your safety on the job and personal protective equipment. We're going to talk about policies that will protect you that you can use and you could present to your superiors and to your colleagues. We all want to move up in the world, don't we? A little raise wouldn't help here and there. But words like promotion, advance, raise, those are synonymous, which means they mean the same thing or in the same category as the word exceed. We want to exceed the standard. Meeting the bare minimum and doing barely what somebody is asking of us when they ask it is not going to get us ahead. Remember, exceed the standard. Get ahead. We're going to talk about different types of PPE and what it protects. We're going to talk about simple care and maintenance of your personal protective equipment because you have to care for it. You got to make it last. You got to make it work. We're going to talk about the components of a personal protective equipment program at your work and what a good personal protective equipment program will consist of. Very simple. Now you could just simply type up a one-page document or write it out, throw it in a manila folder, and bam. All it needs after that is implementation, putting it out to the field. I know you're busy. We all are. We got families. We got kids. We have a social life, and that's important. We got bills to pay. So I'm not going to bore you. I'm just going to get straight to the point. And for that reason, I'm taking years of field trainings conducted on job sites, and I've condensed them into easy and efficient courses that you can take on a computer, on your smartphone, on an iPad. You can take it at a restaurant, in your home, or in the cab of your truck on the job site. This course is yours. Once you've enrolled, once you have it, take it. Download the slides and conduct field trainings. Enroll your colleagues and fellow employees in this course. Download the videos and have group trainings in a conference room at your place of business. Use this course as initiative. What I mean by that is, instead of waiting for somebody to come up with this idea, get ahead of that and you bring this idea to them first. Showing initiative gives those around you a reason to think you should be moved up. Present this course to your employers, to your safety departments. Say, hey, check this out. This is what I got. Can we present it? Can we put it out? At a bare minimum, they will see that there is no harm in at least printing out the slides and passing them up, and that makes you look good. Your family needs you. You have a responsibility to protect yourself. Why? Why for your family? Because they expect you to return home in the same condition in which you left. You have to provide for them. You got to put food on the table. Your coworkers, you have a responsibility to them as well. We've all heard the saying that we're only as strong as our weakest link. If there's somebody in our team that is lacking or faltering in regards to safety, that puts us all at risk. So we need to build that person up positively, and we need to be the good example of a good safety officer or a good safety operator. We have a responsibility to our employers. Our employers have a responsibility, a law-mandated responsibility to us to provide us with a safe working environment. However, in return, we have a responsibility to them to adhere to safety guidelines. And why is that? A safe working environment means we get those good jobs, we get those big money jobs that look at your safety rating. We secure those jobs, we secure work. We secure work, we secure a paycheck. We secure a paycheck, we secure ourselves. We have a responsibility to ourselves also because all of these people are depending on us. And what good are we to them if we are debilitated? The 7 most expensive words in business are, but we've always done it this way. I get it. Sometimes you can't teach an old dog new tricks. But we and the old dogs can agree on one thing, that the world is rapidly changing and we need to adapt and overcome, or else it's going to bury us, it's going to leave us behind. Just because we've done something a certain way for so long doesn't mean it's been the right way. Imagine what we've put our bodies through. I'd hate to think what is wrong with my body just from things that exposures that I didn't even know I had, or something that science and medicine hasn't discovered yet, but out there among chemicals, among dust, different types of chemical dust, different type of exposures. I've put my body through so much, and I'm sure it's taken years off my life. But just because I feel okay now doesn't mean it was the right way to be doing it in the first place. There's always a safer way to do something. Because something has been done a certain way is usually because it's the cheap way of doing it. And when we do things just to save money, all of our lives are put at risk. There's nothing wrong with doing something the right way continually. But if we've always been doing something a certain way to save a buck, then something needs to change. Because it's doing that, saving a buck, not your health and not your life. So stop, pause, think. You have the God-given tools, the mental faculties to address a situation. Stop, think, and see how something can be done better. Not just for the sake of change, but because, like I said, the world is changing rapidly, and because of the pace at which it's changing, it's dangerous. So here's what the law says. 29 CFR 1926.95 states, protective equipment, including personal protective equipment for eyes, face, head, and extremities, protective clothing, respiratory devices, and protective shields and barriers shall be provided. Used and maintained in a sanitary and reliable condition wherever it is necessary by reason of hazards or processes or environment, chemical hazards, radiological hazards, or mechanical irritants encountered in a manner capable of causing injury or impairment in the function of any body part through absorption, that means touching or physical contact, inhalation, such as breathing in dust, breathing in fumes or chemicals, or physical contact, like with our hands or any other body part. Let's talk about this a little more in detail. Okay, let's break this law down a little bit. Protective equipment, including personal protective equipment for eyes, head, and extremities. That means safety lenses, that means hard hat, and that could mean long sleeve shirts, gloves, shin protectors, metatarsal protectors. Those are all examples of extremities. Protective clothing, respiratory devices, and protective shields and barriers. So what's a protective shield or barrier? That could be something like a barrier preventing you from entering an area where you could possibly fall into a trench. And a barrier is something that you can't lift your leg over and cross over, or your buddy or yourself hold up the string so you can pass underneath it. A barrier is something that physically blocks you from the hazard or the hazard from you. That can also be something like a wall or a shield protecting you from the light of a welder. So it should be used and maintained in a sanitary and reliable condition. That means it must be cleaned. It's got to be checked out before the workday starts. Look at it. Make sure there's no cracks. Make sure there's no peels coming off it. And at the end of the day, take a rag to it. Clean it down. See if there's any damage that's on it. It should be maintained in a sanitary and reliable condition wherever it's necessary by reason of hazards or processes or environment, chemical hazards, radiological hazards, or mechanical irritants encountered in a manner capable of causing injury. Key phrase there, capable of causing injury. If I'm holding something in my hand, if I'm doing a job, I need to be able to stop for a brief second and think, well, can doing this cause me injury? Chances are the answer is, yeah, it can. At which point, my next thought process should be, what do I have to do to eliminate the hazard, and if not, protect myself against it? If I'm a welder and obviously identify the fact that the light that results from welding is damaging to my eyes, the most obvious next step should be to protect my eyes. We all know that. But if I need protection for my eyes, shouldn't the people around me require protection for their eyes as well? So the key phrase, capable of causing injury or impairment in the function of any body part. So if what I'm doing can cause injury or impairment to myself or others, there must be some type of protection. We cannot just do it out in the open. Impairment in the function of any body part through absorption, inhalation, or physical contact. So if touching it can hurt us, either we don't touch it, or if we have to touch it, we protect our hands in the process. Inhalation, that's an interesting one. That's kind of one of those things that's near and dear to me, especially when it comes to crystalline silica, aka concrete dust, or dust in general. There's dust all over the place. And on job sites, you have chemicals, you have open sewer lines, you have asbestos, all kinds of stuff. And that gets into the dust. And we think, oh, it's just dirt. As if dirt wasn't bad enough for us already, which it is. Now you add the asbestos that we can't see, concrete dust that we can't see. If we're working on a sewer line or a storm drain, now there's feces in the air in that dust. And now through our breathing, our inhalation, all those little particles are sticking to our lungs. And that's adversely affecting our health. So we need to protect against that. And how do we protect against stuff like that? A little 1 cent, 2 cent face mask. And there are other masks that are required for bigger jobs with greater hazards, and we'll get into that. But the point of that is something so simple, so cheap, can prevent so much long-term damage to your body, damage that you may not realize you're putting yourself into. Thanks for sticking with me. I'll see you in the next lecture. God bless. Hello everybody. So now we're going to talk about the different types of PPE that are out there, what they protect, how and why. A lot of this is going to be self-explanatory, and I don't mean to insult anybody's intelligence, but we don't want to give other people a reason to find fault in us by saying that we either don't know or we've forgotten. So we're just going to check this box, and you never know. We might stumble upon something that we have forgotten. This may be a good refresher, and a good leader mentors those around him, mentors those beneath him. So this would be a good refresher and an opportunity to pass the information along to somebody who doesn't know. And we're going to talk about the different types of PPE that might be relative to each other. For instance, we know that gloves protect the hands, obviously, but there are different variations of gloves that would apply to different types of jobs. So that's why we're kind of going to go through this as well. I look forward to seeing you in the next lectures, and take care. So, what protects our heads on the job site? We have hard hats. Safety glasses protect our eyes, and I know it's pretty obvious, but there are different variations and there are different things to consider, such as the type of safety glasses that you wear that you give to somebody. Do they have those sharp plastic edges that'll cut into the forehead, or I'm sorry, to the side of the head, causing possibly an infection or causing it to sting on the person wearing them when they sweat? So just because we have something protecting our eyes, we got to make sure that it's not causing an injury elsewhere. So there are safety vests. Those protect our body and those protect clothing. Safety vests don't just make us visible to heavy equipment operators or the people around us. You sweat onto your clothing, and there might be some type of dust that has chemicals in it. There might be a chemical on your shirt. There might be something on your shirt that once it combines with the sweat, it is now seeping and being absorbed by your skin. That can in turn cause a rash or some type of irritation. So safety vests come in handy. Gloves, obviously, they protect hands, fingers, and arms. But the glove that someone might use to tie rebar will be different from a glove that for someone who is pouring concrete. And that person, you might have one person that's doing 3 different jobs. One person might be pouring concrete, then tying rebar, or just operating a power tool, or using a hammer. That's possibly 3 different types of gloves that person would need or use. Safety boots and shoes, those obviously protect the feet. But again, what you use while operating a handsaw or some type of heavy equipment will be a different type of boot from concrete pouring operations. There are also face shields. Face shields protect the eyes and face. Definitely wear a face shield when conducting any type of rebar sawing or cutting. Earplugs and earmuffs. Check out our hearing protection course. There's also metatarsal protection that will slip over your boot, over your shoes when operating a jumping jack. There's respirator masks. If you remember from our trenching and excavation course, there's a lot of contaminants in the dust that we breathe. Now, if you're operating in or around a utility line or a drainage pipe, we don't know what's been poured in there in the past. We don't know what dangers are in that dust. And now that dust is in the air and we're breathing that in. There could be chemicals or there could be fecal matter in that dust. And now that's sticking to the inside of our lungs. So a respirator mask will help that. Welding shields protect our eyes and skin. They protect the eyes and skin of those around us. We don't want to be responsible for hurting somebody else. So that's why we erect things such as welding shields. And then we have rubber boots for feet and skin. I hope this has helped, and we're going to go into a little more detail here in the next lesson. Okay, everybody, let's check it out. Let's do a real quick job site inspection. All right, what do we see here? I can tell you right now, I'm not very happy. We have an individual cutting into some concrete, and we have a large plume of dust in and around that machine. So it's a safe bet to say that we are dealing with concrete silica, aka crystalline silica, aka concrete dust, aka deadly dust. You got one dude walking around in it there in the blue shirt, kind of walking around in it, chit-chatting on the cell phone, texting and using a cell phone on an active job site. That's another lecture, but whatever. We got this guy right here. I mean, what is he doing? Is he having lunch? Is he having lunch in that? This guy might have been savvy enough to understand the hazard. He's walking out of it, but who knows? Maybe he's just walking around in it. So what can we see in this picture that is going to hurt us? We got the deadly concrete dust. We've got that grinder or that concrete cutter, and to see how that is causing injury to our ears and to our health in general, loud noise has certain adverse effects such as anxiety, such as high stress and depression, because the resulting constant ringing in the ears creates the anxiety in the body, which then results in that chemical dump to counteract that anxiety, which can cause ulcers, depression, and other health effects just from a noise danger. But I'll let you check that course out on your own if you'd like. So no hearing protection, and there's no dust mask. All right, let's talk about this for a second. So I'm sorry, but this fires me up a little bit. Here we have this one guy who's just kind of sitting in this giant cloud of concrete dust, of crystalline silica. And everybody's kind of walking around like meandering, like no big deal, it's a bright and sunny day. Well, let me explain to everybody what's going on in this picture. It only takes one exposure, and this is what's going on inside the lungs. You breathe in that dust, and obviously, unless these gentlemen are holding their breath at the job site, they're obviously breathing it in. So that crystalline silica enters the lungs, okay, and the body can't process it. So what happens is it sticks to the inside wall of the lungs. That microscopic little piece or pieces of crystalline silica act like a little piece of glass that causes microscopic abrasions and cuts to the inside of the lung wall. So what is the body's reaction to that to protect itself against those abrasions and cuts? It starts creating cells around that damaged portion of the lung, around that molecule of crystalline silica. And those cells around that molecule, around that injury that's at a very small microscopic level, begin to multiply. And as those cells multiply, guess what you got now? You got tumor, or you got tumors, depending on how many exposures or how many of those little abrasions you have on the inside of your lungs. And then guess what? Now you have cancer. It only takes one exposure. All right? If you don't care about yourself, cool, I respect that. But think about your kids coming into the hospital to see you laid up there. Or think about them seeing you inside of a casket. These aren't scare tactics. People have died from this. Look it up. I don't want you to go through that. I don't want your family to go through that. Right? I want you to put on your favorite show on TV and kick back with a cold one and not breathe like you just ran a mile at a full sprint. Because that's one of the effects of this, is you're always breathing as if you've been running at a full sprint and you can't get enough oxygen and air in your lungs. So because of that, they take you off the job site. Now you can't work. Now you can't earn to your full potential. Then they put you on oxygen. And now what's happening? You're dragging around an oxygen tank. And eventually the condition gets worse and worse and worse. It's downhill from there. So protect yourselves, guys. And if you see another crew walking around in that dust cloud, say something. Okay? Maybe they'll laugh it off, or they'll kind of shrug you off and tell you to get out of there. And okay, that's happened to me, and it's happened to me. I've had people throw phones at me because I asked them to stop operating a 4-ton grader on an active job site in reverse while speaking to their girlfriend. But at least I'm going to be able to sleep better at night knowing that I did the best I can to make sure that that guy's kids enjoy him, that guy's wife gets to look him in the eyes at the end of the day. I've had people lift up a pipe wrench and yell at me because of something simple as, hey man, I need you to wear your hard hat. Because I don't want a tile falling from a roof or from a level above you and striking you in the head. I don't want you to go through that pain. I don't want your family to have to see you all laid up in a hospital bed. So protect ourselves, guys. And let's protect each other. You got my back, and I got your back. Take care, and God bless. So as I have stated in some of my other lectures and previous courses, part of being an effective leader, whether you're in a leadership position or not, Because even if you're not in a leadership position, I'd like to think you do have leadership potential. And I think you do. I know you do. So, part of being an effective leader is highlighting the good things and praising what your colleagues are doing before offering the constructive criticism. So, in the previous lecture, we saw those gentlemen in the cloud of deadly concrete dust. When I would approach them, I would probably start off by telling them what a good job they're doing on the job as a whole. And then I would segue into the dangers that they're exposing themselves to, and then ask them politely to don their personal protective equipment to protect themselves against it. I'd also talk about why it's important not just to them, but to their families. So again, we want to highlight and praise the good things, and then we offer our constructive criticism. So with that said, let's look at this picture and see what this guy's doing right, and give him a good attaboy for it. So here we have this gentleman who is operating a jumping jack. And if anybody's ever operated a jumping jack before, you know that as this pneumatic hydraulic pad moves up and down, it can do so quite quickly and oftentimes violently. And what is close to that pad that can get caught under there? Our feet. That's what the jumping jack's meant to do. It's meant to come down and compact and smash everything that's underneath it. So our feet are in the most danger. Our lower extremities are in the most danger. So I just want to say good job to this guy for protecting his feet with that metatarsal protection. It's a very inexpensive piece of PPE that will pay him dividends. Good job. He's got his safety vest. He's also got his hard hat. I might ask him to put some gloves on, just because the vibration hazard that exists, that constant vibration will wear down the bones and the cartilage that exists within the hand. And maybe put on some safety glasses. As that jumping jack moves up and down quickly, I hate for something to fly off of a wall and bounce back and hit him in the eye. But all in all, it looks good. That's it, everybody. I want to thank you for sticking through this course with me. We've talked about what OSHA's standard says regarding the law, regarding personal protective equipment. We've also talked about how to ID a hazard and which type of personal protective equipment to apply to that hazard. We've also talked about the different types of PPE and what they protect against, and an effective PPE program for you to start. The program is not the best program, but it's a solid baseline that you can then take and add your specific requirements to. But it's a good starting point, it's a good baseline, and if anything, you could just use it itself. Print it up, throw it in a folder, present it to your management, and bam, instant program. Stop and observe in anything you do. Identify the hazards. What dangers do they cause? Can we avoid the hazards altogether? Can we guard against them? And if not, which types of personal protective equipment do we require to physically protect our bodies, our senses, and all of our God-given faculties from? So, we want to enjoy life to the fullest. We have bills to pay. We have families to provide for. We've got hobbies. And how are we going to do that if we've taken valuable years off of our lives by not protecting ourselves from hazards in the past? Your family depends on you. They need you. I don't want you to be the hero that falls out of the sky after all this destruction and mayhem have already occurred. I want you to be the hero that saves a life and prevents the accidents and the dangers from happening in the first place. That's a real hero. Thanks again for taking this course. Take care of your family. Take care of yourself. And take care of each other. And remember, if we watch our buddies back, they're going to watch ours. And we're all safer for it. Take care. Much love and God bless.